up, everybody? Welcome into yet another edition of the Baseline Jumper podcast. My name is Jason Goldstein, and on the line with me right now is the chain blinging, gun slinging, pen slinging Ben McDonald. Ben, stop throwing pens.
I don't have the arm of D Rose, but I'm working on my craft, Jason. That's going to be on ESPN 8, the Ocho pen throwing championships, and I think I'm a shoo-in.
By the way, I don't want our listeners to think that you actually do sling guns. I meant to say chain blinging, pen slinging Ben McDonald, but it just slipped out and I rolled with it because we don't do edits here at Baseline Jumper. We just go the whole way. If I say something stupid, if Ben sends something crazy, we leave it in. You know, we want this podcast to be as raw and authentic as possible. And if it weren't for Derrick Rose, I wouldn't have just had that great intro. So, but how are you, man?
I am doing well, but how about you, Mr. Twerking Sensation, Miami traveling man over here? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I was in Miami for my buddy's bachelor party this past weekend with a great group. We had 10 dudes, and we were pretty much all over the place. And yes, every time I do something stupid in a video, I send it to Ben, and we talk about it on a podcast. So over the summer, I dunk basketballs in swimming pools, and in the winter, I enter male twerking contests in the Clevelander, and I come away victorious. I mean, I made $19. You know, that's more money than I've ever made doing this podcast. So maybe I should think about a second career.
Yeah, I think it's a good option for you. Good fallback plan for sure. And yeah, your skills are impressive. And that's just more reason to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast because maybe, just maybe, we can get you in on some exclusive content like Jason winning a twerking contest. So that's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
exciting stuff.
that's not for many pairs of eyes. I mean, I did not post that on social media. I have a full-time job, but I sent it to my entire family. My sister was showing everybody. So what can I say? I'm a twerker.
Give the people what they want, Jason. And speaking of which, this week we are going to talk about, ahead of the All Star break, what is hot, like Jason's twerking videos, and what is not around the league. And Jason, I'm gonna let you start us off. I mean, as the person who is busy working down in the southern United States in Miami, winning these contests, showing off your skills. What is hot in the NBA right now, my friend?
Well, I think we have to start with the Pelicans because we said, is Zion going to play by next week's show? I said, probably not, but hopefully within 2 weeks. And it's looking more and more likely that that's going to happen. So Zion Williamson coming back. I mean, is there a set date? I don't think so, but it seems like it's going to be real soon.
Yeah, I feel like I just need to shout Zion from the rooftops. It's so exciting. This is about as good as it's gonna get this season. Getting to watch him play, I feel like I've been waiting so long now to see him that it's really gonna be great to actually see him get on the court. And I mean, the reports are it's gonna be this week is what they're saying. So we'll see. But I mean, that is fantastic news. I mean, for anyone who's an NBA fan, that you're going to get to see one of the premier young players get out there finally. I mean, this is a guy with immense potential. Before the injury, I mean, I think just about everyone thought he was going to be the rookie of the year. And now it might be Thursday against the Jazz in New Orleans. You got to think he's going to come for a home game. I mean, he's almost got to start at home, right, Jason, so the fans can get to see him. And then if not, it'll be probably not till Saturday versus the Clippers. I mean, if you're ABC, you've got to be excited. That game on the Saturday telecast, you get Clippers at the Pelicans with Zion maybe returning in that game. That would be great for them as well. So, I mean, either way you slice it, that is certainly hot and very exciting.
Well, I think it's great for the city because the Saints had that embarrassing loss to the Vikings, you know, in the wild card round where had they had the bye, they would have ended up playing in the divisional, and that didn't happen. And then you had LSU winning the college football national championship
Mm.
on Monday night. So right now, the city of New Orleans is on fire. Between people being mad that the Saints lost to being great, really happy that the LSU Tigers won, and then to have Zion come back for a Pelicans team that's right in the thick of that race for the eighth seed would be very exciting for the city. But before we move on, did you see that video of Zion Williamson on the bench and it looked like he was falling asleep?
He's got to get his beauty sleep, Jason. He knows he's coming back soon. He's got to rest up before he comes on the court.
I mean, maybe he's the type of dude that just doesn't like to drink coffee because I had my first cup at 23. Zion Williamson is 19. Maybe he's just never had caffeine.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When you watch him dunk, he is certainly caffeinated then. So, you know what? I hope he's just saving his energy for that Clippers game on Saturday because that's going to be a show, and I cannot wait to watch him start dunking fools into the basket. It's going to be one of my favorite things of this whole season. We talked about things we wanted for Christmas, our kind of our Christmas present and our New Year's wishes that we wanted. This is one that I definitely should have paid more attention to because I can't believe how excited I am to see him play. And Jason, another young guy who is certainly turning out to be everything we hoped and as good, if not better than advertised, is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who is currently just killing it for the Thunder. Who, I mean, I think it's fair to say that the Thunder were an afterthought in the playoff race. Neither one of us saw them as a playoff team. At the beginning of the season, when we did our previews, I said, don't sleep on this team. But even I had no thought that they were really going to compete in a meaningful way for anything but maybe the eighth playoff spot. And yet, Jason, here we are with a team that is firmly in the playoff hunt right now. Numerous guys having just great seasons. I mean, you go 1 through 6 on this team. Those guys are all playing really, really well. Chris Paul is putting together a vintage year here. And at the top of all of it, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's averaging nearly 20 points a game and just pulled off an incredible feat with a 20 rebound triple double. I mean, you just don't see this, Jason. I mean, what do you make of the way that Alexander is playing so far this season?
Well, I just think he's more comfortable in Oklahoma City. It's more of a free system. I don't know how much he liked playing for Doc Rivers in LA. Comes over in that trade for Paul George and has just ignited that team. I mean, who would have thought that when Oklahoma City has 3 point guards on the floor most of the time that it would be working? I'm more impressed with the way that Chris Paul has bought in because he's pretty much the only superstar future Hall of Famer that's not really involved in the championship picture, or so we thought coming into the season. But for Chris Paul and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to kind of just energize this team, coming in, averaging almost 24 points a game, as you said, he's been awesome. And for a guard that lengthy to pull down 20 boards in a game and get a triple-double and get a win, I mean, you couldn't ask for better. And what I like most about this, Ben, is that, the coaching staff in OKC challenged him. Fill up the stat sheet. Billy Donovan
Oh
was
yeah.
on him, and he delivered. And that's what you want with a young kid because he's showing that he's got some serious star potential. And you even mentioned, on past shows that you really like this kid and all the talks about Trae Young and Luka Doncic, but Gilgeous-Alexander is certainly playing his way into the conversation.
And I think one of the most impressive things that maybe he doesn't even get enough credit for is he's playing out of position right now, Jason. I mean, he is a natural point guard who, because Chris Paul is there, is just making it work. And he really hasn't gotten almost any minutes really at the point guard position because perhaps their third or fourth best player has been Dennis Schroeder, who is also a point guard. So, I mean, I think what makes all of this even more impressive is that he's basically playing out of position for this team. And it's kind of scary to imagine how good he could be when he gets to match up against point guards because you mentioned the rebounding and his length. Now imagine opposing point guards having to defend this guy who's just towering over them. So I think there's a lot to love there, and they're certainly a hot team. So um, outside of the Thunder and Gilgeous-Alexander, who else have you seen that you're impressed by or who's hot right now?
Oh, the Utah Jazz, certainly. I mean, they've been up and down, I think, for the majority of the season with injuries and Mike Conley being out, but they are firmly entrenched in the top four in the West right now. It's a bit of a logjam with half the game separating the 2 through 5 current seeds in the playoff format right now. But they're 27-12. They've won 9 in a row, tied with the Lakers for the longest streak in the NBA, and they've just been fun to watch. I mean, they're only scoring 109 points a game, but they're doing it so methodically. And when their big free agent acquisition of the summer was Mike Conley, even though it was a trade,
Hmm.
that just shows that the continuity with the program, what Quinn Snyder's doing there, having most of last year's team together, minus Derek Favors, and they're getting it done on both ends of the floor. I mean, you have to love Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. One of those two have to make the All-Star team in the West this year. And then a guy like Bojan Bogdanovic, who we looked at his 4-year, $73 million deal and said, what? This guy was a role player on some bad teams, went to Indiana, earned himself a nice payday. So I just think this team fits. I know you're a little bit worried about Mike Conley, and his health for the rest of the season, which is valid criticism. But if he's able to come and give anything that he has left after a pretty lengthy career, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team, and they could be contending for the top seed. I mean, I wouldn't say top seed, but they can make some real noise in the playoffs if they keep playing this way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a few places. The place I have to really start here is, though, Rudy Gobert has got to get an all-star nod here. I mean, it's been crazy that he hasn't gotten there. I mean, he just does not get the respect he deserves for his contributions. He's incredible. He's second in the league in rebounding right now, and he continues to be just an absolute force for them. I mean, he is just incredible. And then two other guys I just want to call out, Jason. One is, how about Jordan Clarkson coming in out of just a pretty terrible situation earlier this season, and to come over and just be an immediate contributor for this team and step in and really give them exactly what they needed. I mean, I think it's pretty interesting that since he's come over, Jason, they haven't lost a game. I mean, since he moved from the Cavs to the Jazz, they're undefeated. And it's obviously not all him, but that little extra scoring punch does a lot for them, and it opens things up for Gobert and, of course, Donovan Mitchell. And then the last guy on this team, Jason, who will never get the credit he deserves, I think, for all he does, is Joe Ingles, who has been, I mean, he's been an advanced stats dream since the Jazz kind of turned it around. He has been incredible for them. And he doesn't do it as much in the box score. But, I mean, there's just a lot to love about this team. And, to me, Jason, I think if you're looking for a dark horse in the Western Conference, this is a team that you have to sort of like. I had some doubts at the beginning of the season, but this is a team that I do sort of like the way that they're playing, and I like the Jordan Clarkson move partially too because it gives them the option to play another way. They can really go small and really surround the team with creators and shooters. I like the different looks they have. They still kind of need one more sort of big wing, I think, who can defend someone like a Paul George. I'm still a little worried that they can't really guard a LeBron, a Paul George, a Kawhi Leonard type, who they're probably going to have to go through. I mean, does that worry you at all about this Jazz team?
I don't, because I think Donovan Mitchell is ultimately shouldering enough of the load where I don't think they're going to need it, because he fits well next to Bogdanovic on the wing. Where are you really going to play another wing? You have Ingles there. I know they got rid of Jeff Green, but now Clarkson's there eating up some minutes. Ed Davis has been out, so when he gets back and starts playing well, I mean, they have a complete team. I think it's going to be improvement from within if and when Mike Conley ever gets healthy. I think that's the key to their season right there, because you see how well they're playing without him, and I think he would change it up and raise it a gear, if anything, if he has anything left in the tank.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when Conley gets back, just because they've been playing so well without him. You have to almost wonder if you're Quinn Snyder, do you almost let Donovan Mitchell play more of the one with how well they've done with that look? But we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, that just makes me question how comfortable you think Mike Conley would be off the ball.
It's going to be really interesting because Conley's also undersized, and I think that
stop him in Memphis.
But the thing is, when Mitchell's out there, he has great size for a point guard. He's undersized for the two guard, undoubtedly, and so is Conley. And then if you're putting Ingles and Bogdanovic out there, it's just you're really going to get killed on the boards a lot of times. I mean, they have obviously Gobert, but man, that's just really small around Gobert otherwise. But
yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. Look, they're up 11 on the Nets right now in the fourth quarter. They're going for their 10th straight win, which would be the best in the league with the Lakers not playing tonight. And we'll get to the Lakers in a little bit. But I know you want to talk about the Grizzlies. So why don't we go down to Memphis for a little bit, a grit and grind. this team, believe it or not, left them for dead, and they're 4 games under 500 halfway through the season.